Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Fan Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
If you're a fan of comic books and comic book conventions, Daytona Beach Comic Con needs to be on your list of must-attend events. It's a show that actually focuses on comic books. Imagine that! This year's event is happening on Saturday, September the 6th, and Sunday, September the 7th. Silverline creators will be there, so we'll see you at the show. If you find yourself in the Orlando area, and let's be honest, doesn't everyone come to Orlando for the House of Mouse? Head over to Coliseum of Comics to get your comic book fix. Be sure to check out their location on East Colonial Drive, where they carry a wide selection of independent comics, including Silverline books. Stop by and don't forget to tell them Silverline sent you. Hey, if you're an independent comic creator looking to get your comic printed, look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our comics and do a fantastic job. They can even print special edition covers. When you reach out to them, be sure to tell them Silverline sent you. Looking for a bold way to boost your business? Advertise with Silverline Comics, reaching readers across the U.S. and around the world. Affordable rates, passionate fans, and national and international exposure, all packed inside thrilling, action-packed comics. All ads must be PG-13, perfect for reaching all ages. Spots are limited. Grab your ad space today and become part of the adventure. Silverline Comics, where adventure lives and your brand thrives. Email us at silverlinepublishingllc@gmail.com for more information. And make mine Silverline.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kilberg, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday night as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
All right. Welcome to another Wednesday Wham. Hey Pops, how you doing? I am one of your co-hosts for tonight, Kaz or Kasisi. And we'll, as we always do, start the show by going around and introducing ourselves and kind of letting folks know who you are, what you do, where you come from. And then we'll have some other housekeeping stuff, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty while we're here tonight. So right now, again, I'm Kaz, very young in career, writer for Silverline, did some editing for Divinity, pushing hard to try and get a name out there. So that is me in a nutshell, 4-second career. Now we're going to go to someone who is the opposite of a 4-second career. Boom, and I did it right. Look at that.
Barb Kilberg, 36-year pro in the industry, going on 37 years. Inker for 30 of those years. Inker and colorist for 6 of those years. I'm the creator of Divinity, and I'm a CFO of Silverline Comics.
All right. Okay.
Sweet and short. Right. Short and sweet.
Boom. Okay, I did it. Welcome, Prodigal John.
Hey, Kaz. It's nice to meet you, Rob. So good to see y'all again. Kaz, you said where we're coming from. I think I've been to hell and back, my friend. But you know what?
That's why your hair's lighter.
Oh yeah, and my kid keeps saying that's thinning out too. So, hey everybody, if you're not familiar with me, because I have been away for a minute or 12, my name is John Medic. I write, I do some editing, I do some lettering. Creator of the book Sniper and Rook and the character Ripper. And I am stoked to be back with the Wednesday Wham folks.
Good to have you back. All right, here we go. The easy one.
The man, the myth, the legend.
That's right.
Oh, somebody's been to a show.
Yeah, I always steal this. I always steal
Me
the
too.
signs from the shows that I go to.
I got them scattered around the studio here.
Yeah,
I still got one in my laundry room.
You should see all the. Well,
Yeah, I keep them
I've got
too.
all my
All the
I've got all-
lanyards, yeah.
all the lanyards and the ID cards from all the shows I go to. But anyway, I'm Rob Davis. I've been a comic book artist since 1989. So I've been at this a while, kind of like Barb has been.
1989.
I started out as a letterer, became an inker, then a penciler, and I've drawn everything from Merlin in the past to Kirk and crew in the far distant Star Trek future, and a bunch of stuff in between. For Silverline, I was the artist for the miniseries Twilight Grim with my old pal R.A. Jones, and have since then been doing. I also do some work with Airship 27, which is a pulp revival book publisher. I am partnered with not R.A. Jones, with Ron Fortier. That goes into the Ron and R.A. So anyway, I keep myself busy in my retirement from real work. So and having a lot of fun with the Silverliners every week when I can make it, most weeks. So take it away, Kaz.
All right. Now, before we kick off the show tonight, want to talk about our Fund My Comic. 1 second. Let me share it. The Rejects. All right. It's fun comic. Great art. Again, when you back a Silverline title, the book is already done. You are not, paying for hopes and dreams. You are really paying for a book that is already finished, right? We just need to get it in your hands. And we got, 3 covers and a foil cover. Got some awesome art. It's just really fun art that they got going on here. And then you got some Michael C. Lanning stuff, or C. Michael Lanning, sorry. This is
nice.
Dark Joan, I think. I really like this one. I'm thinking about this one. But all the art is go ahead.
Interesting for rejects. That's a rejected cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it makes a difference, I inked the back half of the book.
Oh, did you? Oh,
cool.
Yeah.
Look at this stuff. So again, go to our Fund My Comic. We'll put the link in the chat for this Fund My Comic. And then if you want to pick up any back issue of any Silverline comics like Twilight Grim, Divinity, Wolf Hunter, any back issue, feel free. Get those while you're there. All right. We appreciate you guys supporting us. Okay, so why are we here tonight, CC? Why did you drag?
Why are we here?
I know. Tonight, you have choices to make, panel. And you, chat, viewers, you have choices to make. We are going to write a comic together. Now, your choices, we can't have everything we want. So you're going to be stuck with the choices, right? But we're going to, vote on which choice has the most votes, right? And we're going to select that. And what I'm going to do is have that comic made, right? So I'll write it and have it made. And then on a future show, we'll get together and just kind of talk about it, right? Talk about how we think it came out, what we would have done differently, the colors that the colorist chose, the inks, pencils, all that stuff, and kind of dive into, the thing that we all brought together. And hopefully the chat can work to bring that together too. So are you guys ready?
Yep.
Okay. All right, here we go. Now, I'm going to present you with choices, as I said before, and I'm going to read off some, a little snippet about each choice, right? And then we're going to go around and I'm going to ask you, hey, of those choices, which one do you think you would like to move forward with in the story? And we're going to talk about things like power sets, the setting of the story, main characters, sidekicks, villains, twists, all that good stuff. We'll try and get through as many elements as we can, and then I'll fill in the gap for the rest. All right, everybody okay with that?
So it sounds like an awesome game of Mad Libs, Silverline style.
Basically.
Yeah, that's essentially what we got.
Basically.
Yeah.
All right, we'll try and go. All right. So the first thing we want to talk about is setting. Okay? So you don't know who the main character is. You don't know power sets. We're just going to talk about where this story takes place. Now you have 3 choices. The first choice is a place called Scrap Halo. Okay, Scrap Halo. Yep, it's a shattered orbital ring turned lawless slum, right? And it's a civilization that clings to Earth's edge. Now, I really flirted with not doing this, right? But you got to put AI to use. So I had some concept art, right? I'm going to show that, right? And I don't want it to say your choice.
Off he goes.
I don't want it to say
he
your
went to get
choice.
scrap paper. Okay.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. This is, you know, not perfect, obviously, it's AI. But this is, let me add it to the stage.
You know, our future AI overlords might not like to be called not perfect.
But at least we're working together. That's
Did
how
you at least manage to get, like, on the people, did you manage to get 5 fingers? On the AI.
That I don't know.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Now, an artist is going to recreate all this. So don't, we are not married to this image. But this would be a representation of Scrap Halo. It orbits the Earth. It's kind of not like Junkion in the Transformers, but like a junky kind of slum, like.
Well, it's ring world around a planet.
Right.
Sounds
right.
like.
Right.
Okay.
So that's one choice.
One choice. Okay.
The second choice. Bring it back up. Duskmire Hollow. Duskmire Hollow. So this is a misty forest village that relocates every night so that it can evade like an enemy.
We're talking Tolkien-ish type of.
Yeah, kind of medievalish village. Yeah, in the
that
woods.
Relocates every night.
D&D-ish.
Every night.
D&D-ish, yeah.
Yeah, every night it appears in a different spot. So
is it going like Baba Yaga, or is it just? Bing?
We can decide that.
Oh, okay.
Right now it just relocates, right? So
right.
You could think like the moving cities on what is it, Mortal Engines or anything.
Yep, Mortal Engines, or if it just transports.
Yep.
I like the whole Baba Yaga thing where it gets up and walks off.
Right, that's cool.
On chicken legs, yeah.
Yeah, on chicken legs.
All right, the third place is Grid City. So it's a city where reality kind of glitches. And the currency of that city are memories.
Stories.
So 3 choices. Barb, I'm going to start with you.
All right.
Given those 3 choices.
1 and 2 are the ones that are leaping out at me at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
The number 3 is cool, but I'm actually reading a webtoon anime thingy called Omniscient Reader, which is much like that.
Mm-hmm.
Has the currency is your stories of your life. Oh, but I really, boy, those are 2 diametrically opposed settings where you go the fantasy route to the sci-fi route, and they're both really appealing. But I think I'm actually going to go with the first one because I think it has more of an opportunity to have conflict and more gritty stories.
Okay, so Scrap Halo. So you're going with
Scrap Halo. I'm going with Scrap Halo.
All right, John, what do you got? All
right. So out of the 3, it was number 1 and number 3 that stuck out most to me.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I've never really been a fantasy fan. When Chasing Amy came out and Hooper X is saying like sci-fi fantasy, and I'm like, no, don't put them together. I like sci-fi, not so much fantasy. I think Duskmire Hollow, it's a cool idea that their whole civilization relocates overnight. But I really think that like Scrap Halo has the best opportunity to be able to tell stories of any type in any genre, because you've got the science fiction part, because you're in space. You've got people that are there. So you have the interpersonal conflicts. You have different power dynamics. You never said whether or not we can go down to Earth and come back or not. So we got some interplanetary type of things going on. With that one feels to me as a writer that concept I could tailor to whatever my strength or my artist strength would be. I'm digging that. But that Grid City too, man, that kind of reminded me a little bit of the Justin Timberlake movie, Time something or other, where time was currency. And that was a great concept. But, memories even more so. That's awesome. I love that too. And the reality glitches, I like that. But I'm going to have to go Scrap Halo as well.
Scrap Halo. We got 2 for Scrap Halo. Rob, break it. Don't be a sheep. No, I'm just joking. What do you think, Rob? What do you think?
I like the second one.
Good legs.
Yeah. And let me tell you why.
Tell me why.
Let me tell you why. Because it reminds me of Star Trek, in that you've got the city, and it moves to a new place. It's like going to a new planet, and there's no constraint on where those can be set. You didn't say where they could, so it could go to a science fiction place. So we would have the conflict of the fantasy characters with the science fiction.
Could it go to Scrap Halo one night?
Well, sure, it could. Yeah. So that's what I like about that one. And it was either that or Scrap Halo. So it was but just to be a contrarian, I think I'm going to go with the second one.
Duskmire Hollow. Okay.
Mire Hollow.
Now,
Okay.
I'm going to ask chat, right? So chat, I want to hear what you got to say. Pops, I know you were out there. So Pops, chat, given the 3 choices, Scrap Halo, so this kind of junky city that's orbiting the Earth, right? Duskmire Hollow, you got this.
I do like that idea too. Yeah.
This village that kind of relocates every night, to avoid some sort of danger, right? And then Grid City, like where it's basically this futuristic city, reality kind of glitches, right, all the time, and the people there, the currency is memories, right? So. I wonder what a wealthy person in that type of environment, what that even looks like, right? Do they just
memory bank?
Memory bank. And how smart?
The wealthy people who run the slums on Scrap City, kind of like the Fifth Element type thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't see anything in the chat. So right now, we're saying that Scrap Halo is it. I like Duskmire too.
I could live with that. I could live with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk. Let's talk. You're
getting excited about something here.
Because I want to make sure the order. I want to make sure the order is okay. I want to talk power sets. We're not talking about what a character looks like. We're not talking about, now that you know where the story is taking place in this orbital kind of junkyard, gritty, grimy, orbiting, I want to call it a space station, but just a living place. There are 3 different power sets that this main character can have, right? One, we're going to call it Covenant Core, okay?
Covenant
So basically,
Core.
This person allies with like this battlefield AI, and it's embedded in their nervous system. And it can take full control, right? So for brief bursts of time, they can let the AI take full control of their body. They're flawless, brutal, cold, just do things. I think there are movies that kind of depict this. I can't remember
But everything comes at a cost. What's the
Yeah. So the cost is if you give AI the control too much, you lose. It's now you, right?
You lose your
It
humanity.
begins to take over you.
Yeah, it begins to take over. You become less and less able to take control. You just become the background. So that's one. Two is lyric protocol, right? So this means that, you have this sentient, we'll call it like some audio-based AI, and you'll notice a theme here. I'm putting AI in here a lot. Some audio-based AI, and it'll use frequencies and lyrics to influence your emotions and your thoughts and your memories. Kind of like, think of, it can cause you to be like, it can compel you to do what it wants you to do. Not unlike some great composers, right? If you think about it, some great composers can do the exact same thing.
So you would call the AI bard.
You could, right?
Oh, okay.
Like a siren's call or the mermaids back in the day.
Yep.
Exactly. Or a bard, or wandering minstrel or bard. Yeah.
Now, again, you start losing your grip on what people actually feel like. Is this, over time, if you keep using this, you become more and more detached from humanity yourself, because you don't know what is genuine or what is kind of authored by the AI or manipulated by the AI. So that's the second one. All right. The third one, we'll call it serif frame. And again, we can change the names of all this, but the concept of it is like, it's a quantum reflection of the best version of yourself. So you can constantly produce in an environment, in a situation, you can produce the best version of you that can fight, or the best version of you that can sing, or the smartest version of yourself, right? So you can, it's basically like you're multiple man or multiple woman, right? But
it's like downloading things in the Matrix.
But you can target. It won't be you, though. So here's the thing. It will be versions of you, but it won't be you, right? So you're
pulling from other timelines. You're versions of you.
I wouldn't even say you're pulling from other timelines.
Quantum. We're talking quantum. If you're talking quantum, that's what you're doing. You're pulling versions of you from
the best
other
versions,
timelines.
Yeah, best versions of yourself doing that thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Now again, you're pulling best versions of yourself, but they aren't you.
Right.
So you have the risk of pulling a version of yourself that doesn't like you. Right? You can't control the things. You're hoping that the thing, I call them things. You're hoping that yourself aligns with your intention.
Okay. So all right.
All right.
Multiple personality
and here's another possibility for that when you do that, you are pulling them into your place,
but
you're going where they are.
Yeah.
Kind of like Captain Marvel was with Rick Jones.
I like that.
Yeah.
Really like.
Here's an idea.
All right. We're gonna start with you, Barb. We'll go in the same order. We'll just go in the same order. Barb, given
I like
those
the third
three.
option.
Oh, you like it? You like the serif frame? Okay. All right.
Yeah, I do.
Why? Why do you like that one over the other two?
Because there's more of a chance of pulling himself back to his original self, whereas the other two, no matter what, the more you use that power, the more you're going to lose your humanity. And I don't like my characters to lose too much of their humanity in the end and become basically golems.
So you can see the redemption very easily.
Yes. Yeah. I think that with the third one, he's got the chance of retaining more of his own self as he releases these other personalities of himself back into the ether or whatever, that he can reclaim himself.
And we didn't even talk about how they get back. Like that would be an interesting, so the one can call all of them, but we didn't talk about how they get back. So that would be an interesting kind of thing to play with. All right.
It's
so go
less
ahead.
of a chance of ruining himself.
Yeah. because ideally he is or she is still they're themselves, right? They don't, like you said before, they don't sacrifice,
No, but it's like a very strange kind of multiple personality thing, where they're a different version of themselves is coming through.
And to know what you could be, and how does that affect you too? Like when you see a version of yourself that's really good at something that you didn't think you were really good at, what does that mean for you in your current state?
I'm such a loser.
No, it means there's potential. Hey, Edwin.
Charlie Brown. Yeah.
All right, John, what you got? What choice you got?
All right, I'm going to go with the quantum reflection option, number 3 as well.
Okay.
Not just because Barb is brilliant and I'm following Barb, but Barb is brilliant and I'm following Barb. But I like the I've ever since I was a kid, Star Trek Mirror, the Mirror Universe episode.
Yeah.
I was hooked. I've always been hooked on alternate realities. I talk about them literally every day.
Spock with a goatee.
And and so when Rob went there, like we pulled him from somewhere else, I had even different thoughts. What if, and not running ahead with the whole story, but what if you're pulling these best versions of you from within your own mind? What you idealize yourself coulda, shoulda, woulda been. So like where they're pulled from, how they interact, that could be done so many different ways. And there's a key word. What's that?
I'd be about 50 pounds lighter.
The key word, as I'm jotting down notes here, I put it in quotes. Best. According to who?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of room to be interpreted there too. So you get the version that, and now if we're doing this on Scrap Halo, and there's all these different types of scenarios available, and what you need to be any given day might change. And I sound like Shatner right now.
Radically change. Yeah.
That is, I think, really a great thing. But what if one of the best things at that moment to get you through that situation is an evil version of you?
Yes.
As a writer, I love.
And you can't control that. Yeah. What happens when you let that out of Pandora's box? Yeah, that's a.
Yeah. In order to get through this situation, I'm going to have to turn my rage monster loose. And boy, you got to look out.
They should have left my puppy in my car alone. That's all John Wick said, right?
All right. So we got Sarah Frame. All right, Rob, you're up. What do you think?
I agree with my two panelists. I think that one is full of story ideas. If you go with my initial idea of switching places, you've actually got 2 stories to tell. You've got the one where the alternate is now dealing with your life and you're dealing with their life, and there's got to be some conflict there that's going to come about. The people around them, are they going to figure out that this what's going on, or are you going to be able to pretend? And that whole idea of bringing in an evil version of yourself, then you've got the possibility that they're going to like where they are now and don't want to go back. So you got all that going on. I think there's that idea is just full of storytelling possibilities. So
and yet you always have the hope that he can get back to himself, which is the part that I liked. The other 2, you're eventually going to lose yourself.
When Rob talked about, if you're pulling that version here and then you go there, there's a very not known Kyle MacLachlan movie called Exchange. It's like a B movie where basically your transference, like instead of flying to New York, there's people who will let you borrow their body and they swap into yours, and it's a whole business. And it's very well vetted, but somebody who wasn't vetted too well decided not to give a body back. And hijinks ensue. First half of the movie, brilliant. Second half of the movie with the Baldwin from Biodome, not so much. But yeah, there's some great stuff that can be done with this. Love it, Kaz.
All right, so it sounds like we're all for that quantum reflection. So Sarah Frame. Now, Edwin, since you joined us, let me put you on what we're doing. Okay, so we're working as a group to create a story given some choices. So I'm going to present those choices, go around to the panel, and I'm also going to ask the chat. I want to know of those choices, which one you feel like is the best 2. Now you might have missed that one. We just talked about the setting. So we're in like this orbital kind of junkyard, grimy city that kind of orbits the Earth, right? And now we got our power set. So whatever character we pick, they're gonna be able to do this kind of quantum reflection or pull the best version of themselves either out of their mind from another time. We can figure that part
the
out.
best for whatever situation. The best for whatever situation they
And even
find
how we
themselves
define
in.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. So we talked about a power set. Let's talk main character. Now, I know when we talk character, everybody probably has stuff in their minds, but you have to pick from the 3 choices that you got. Okay?
Our editor has said this is our choices. Yeah.
This is your choices, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we got, and the names I'm not married to, but we got Nova Santiago. So this is a former competitive hacker, right? They kind of got, regardless of the story that we create, something that happened to them, they got pulled back into hacking when one of their relatives vanished. So that's kind of their background. So one is a competitive hacker. Okay. Mm-hmm. One is a priest. So one is this firebrand preacher, right? And they're kind of compelled to get rid of all kind of crime and unholy stuff, right? That's their whole shtick. So whatever is happening, they have this compulsion to get rid of anything that is not, right.
Evil. Anything evil. Yeah.
Evil, correct. And then you got somebody named Kino, right? And they're just like a scavenger, but they're mute. So they can't speak, right? And their eyes can record a lie.
Boy, it's awfully hard to write dialogue for a mute.
You can write thoughts.
Thought balloons.
Yeah. You can write thoughts. And the greatest part is the thoughts are not dialogue. So it's not like the other characters can really, converse with the thought unless we make, unless there's a telepath in there or something weird, right?
Or unless
some AI, yeah.
Or unless the character needs to pull out verbal skills at some point as the best version of that character.
Brilliant. Yeah. Maybe the best version of that. And the weird part is every best version of the character mute? You kind of, it would be just a really weird thing to explore. And what happens when one version is not mute?
and how cool would it be to have like 8 issues and the character never speaks? And then like, boom, splash page number 1, and they're talking, and everybody's like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
They can't shut up then. Yeah.
I resemble that remark.
All right. So chat, panel, those are the 3 choices. We got a competitive hacker. Oh.
You didn't give us the third one.
Yeah, the mute. There's a competitive hacker.
Oh, and the preacher, and then
the preacher. All right, the preacher and the mute.
Don't forget the preacher. Yeah.
And with the mute,
why am I forgetting the preacher?
I want to know more about the lie. The eyes could record a lie.
Yeah, if we're assuming, so I'm making some assumptions when I kind of crafted these characters that they would be in an environment that is somewhat either magical or very technically advanced, right? I didn't necessarily plop them down in like a normal contemporary setting. So I'm envisioning they're walking around with, goggles, or they have like this embedded kind of AI thing. They can't talk.
An innate ability to read people.
Yeah.
To read
That'd
people.
Be really useful.
And a mute might actually have that skill.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, okay.
Okay, so those are our 3 choices. So, Barb,
I'm gonna go with the hacker.
You're gonna go with the hacker. Why?
Really? Okay.
Given those 3 choices, why are you going with the hacker?
Number 1, because we're in the future and almost everything is going to be technologically advanced, and I think that gives him a leg up. I'm not going with the mute for 2 reasons. Number 1, I want to see dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And number 2, if he could read a lie, well, then that removes a lot of complications for him. It makes things too easy. Where's the conflict? If he can always tell if somebody's lying to him.
Well, it says he can record a lie.
We can record a lie. What's the difference?
What were you gonna say, Rob?
You can tell when somebody's lying, but why they're lying, unless you're a telepath, you won't know why. You don't know what's underneath the lie, unless it's obvious. Sometimes it's obvious.
And how do you
But that removes a whole possibility of storylines that you could pop up, like betrayal and stuff like that. Because if you already know that somebody's lying to you, you're not going to trust them.
What if happens? You believe the lie? And what if the lie, even though your intuition, your data, your tech tells you they're lying, it just appears to be the truth. You
want to believe the lie,
or it appears to be the truth. Like, what do you do in that scenario? But I get what you're saying. It does, it's hard to write in a situation like that. It's kind of like OP.
Yeah, that kind of gives him too many super abilities, and I
afford it though. But I get it. I do get it.
I like the hacker view because I like movies where. I like watching hacker movies for one, where they get into the people's lives and stuff like that. They spy.
Oh my gosh, Barb, this is dark side.
Last time she did this, she went dark the last time we did that. Man.
They can find all kinds of secrets. And I like them. I want them to be able to converse with their compatriots.
That's fair. That's fair.
The little repartee, whatever.
All right, so we got hacker from Barb. John, what you got? What are you thinking of those three choices?
I like some of all of them. To tell you the truth, I'd like to put them together all in one. The third one, I'm really
hacker priest.
What's that?
Hacker
priest. Hacker priest.
There you go.
Hacker priest.
A mute hacker priest.
There's an idea. Yeah.
It was never said that the character couldn't have some sort of device that speaks.
It's true.
Think Buck Rogers TV show. We had Tweaky and he had Dr. Theophilus. Yeah, and so there could be.
Buck.
Oh my gosh! Stephen Hawking. He had the ability to speak. So, we could have opportunities for dialogue there, but that takes away from the mute. The firebrand preacher, I like that, but I need a little bit more. Although that would be good in that setting because it's totally full of crime and unholy stuff. I follow Goddess Barb. I think that we will have the most ability to tell a wide variety of stories with that skill set, the hacker skill set, and a reason to come back. Maybe the hacker is not as skilled as they once were, and now they're up against young upstarts and get
somebody followed them back,
get humbled a little bit along the way, and I think that there's abilities also to build a community of hackers. So now we could be working with like an ad hoc team,
like an Mission Impossible type team. Yeah.
Yep. So I think that one would be best.
There's always a hacker of some sort on Mission Impossible, teams, from the TV show or the movies. You got to have a hacker.
Almost any team has a hacker.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
All right, Rob. What are you saying? So
I was leaning to the mute. Big time.
Why?
I just kind of like that whole and then popping in better versions of themselves that's better. So there would be a possibility of one that could speak. So the one who can't speak is in the universe where his counterpart speaks, but he can't. So what do all of his friends in that other? You've got that conflict going on. So I could see that being interesting. The being able to tell truth, I think I pretty much agree with Barb that's probably a little bit. It takes away some of the possible story possibilities and some of the conflict. when you know somebody's lying to you, that kind of eliminates the. If you know, then of course the reader will also know,
Right.
and that kind of takes away some of the mystery of some of the people that they're hanging with. So
There's not
I'm gonna, yeah,
there's not many motivations greater than betrayal.
yeah, exactly. And plus you've always got in a brand new story, you don't know who to trust. You're reading a new story. You don't, is this, this person looks trustworthy, but are they really? Are they hiding something from you? Are they lying to you about something? So I like some aspects of the mute, but I'm going to go with them and go with the hacker. I think that's got the better story possibilities. Yeah.
All right, chat. I'm going to ask you, if you have any opinions on the issue, would you choose hacker, preacher, mute?
Not a very active audience tonight.
Feel free, chime in. Yeah, chime in. Let us know.
Yeah.
And if you're listening,
as to what you think, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're listening, and it'd be curious, like if you're listening post the live show, yeah, put in the comments like what you would have chose for all these,
exactly.
so we can see what that kind of story would have been like. All right, so we got the main character, right? We got the main character. We got the setting. We got the power set, which is great. Let's talk about, and I know every story does not need one of these, but in this story, they're gonna have a sidekick.
Yay!
Okay.
No, I don't like the word sidekick. I prefer.
Okay, so in this particular case, the mute would absolutely need a sidekick. So yeah, you're making it possible for the mute. Somebody that would be an interpreter. The mute could sign, and the sidekick could be the interpreter.
You already went.
Okay, but all right.
I'm just picturing the comedy that could ensue if the sidekick interpreter consistently keeps saying things that the mute didn't really intend, and he's like, "What?" Yeah. But we would need somebody who would be able to do outstanding visuals of facial expressions to convey all of that. That's a sizable skill.
All right, so we got 3 choices for a sidekick. We got Jet. So Jet is a sarcastic rogue AI drone with memory loss. In the heart of code. So think about it. Yeah. So that's one. Then we got Mina, right? So this is a teenager who, when they hold their breath, if they focus really hard and hold their breath, they can stop time. They can pause time around them.
For how long?
As long as they can hold their breath.
Oh, okay.
I glitched on that one. I'm sorry, I missed it. So
it's a teenage. Her name is Mina, and she's a teenager, and she can, if she holds her breath and concentrates real hard, she can stop. She can pause time around her.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay. And then the last one is Boaz, and it's a cybernetic war goat, and. And it's a war hero, but it's a war goat. So it's a goat, and it fought in the war.
Where did you get this crap?
I know. What were you dropping the night you wrote all this?
And where could Barb get some?
Completely clean. And Boaz likes to chew wires. So that's his thing. He likes to chew on wires. He's served in the war.
A hacker with a goat that chews wires. Yeah, that's
not so good for the Ethernet cable.
All right, so Barb, between a rogue AI with memory loss, a team that can hold their breath and kind of pause time around them, and a war goat.
Yeah, you left out my whole favorite, but I really adore buddy movies. With two close buddies. Those are my favorites. You didn't give me a buddy. A human buddy, companion.
The human buddy.
Yeah. And bringing that up, I like the human component. Baby Bigfoot says the goat would cause so much chaos.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yes.
But imagine that fight sequence where the goat goes all out. When the goat goes all out, it'd be kind of funny.
I'm gonna go with Mina.
Mina? Oh, wow. Really? I did not expect you to say that one. Why? Why Mina?
Number one, I like the human component. Not that I was really thinking about the rogue AI or the one with the memory loss, because that was very cute. But I like the concept of holding her stopping time, because you can do so much with that. You know, if you're like, oh, the bullets are flying.
Yeah.
All right, step out of the way. And they all fly past, I like the idea of being able to stop time just for a moment and to get themselves out of the worst things. I would put some more stipulations on that, because I mean that's way too easy just to stop time constantly. I would put stipulations on that you can only use it like once every 24 hours or something like that. But I like the concept.
Okay. All right, so we got Mina for Barb. John, what do you got?
I'm getting mad at Barb because she makes points. It makes me think. I don't like thinking. So let's start with the goat. Love the goat concept. It sounds just crazy. And if it's an old war hero and he's literally an old goat, I could see him telling the hacker, "Shut up, kid. I know better." And the photo that you showed us of Scrap Halo, we've seen goats on the side of mountains. The visual of a goat on part of Scrap Halo is just etched in my brain.
That would be funny. Yeah.
I'm now torn between Mina, and I did like the idea of pausing time. That one did get me in the feels, but the sarcastic rogue AI drone would be fitting here. And it also, I'm picturing drone, so it's airborne, which could give us all kinds of cool perspectives in Scrap Halo. And then that would also be a nice counterbalance to our character who's going to be landlocked, as much land as there is. The heart of gold, but with the memory loss, so it's not going to be thinking quite straight. So that's going to be, I like that. But then I started, I'm looking at my sheet here because I take notes. And I'm like, what if the pause in time is when the character swaps to the best version of them? They realize something's up. I'm going to freeze here. And then that's when
just like that.
That's when the switcheroo happens. So that could be like one of the considerations that Barb would have about, limiting, because you wouldn't want to do that like 45 times a day.
Yeah, that would be too easy to get out of trouble that way.
Yep. I'm still going to go with my heart with Jet.
Okay.
Officially. Sorry, Barb, we have to part ways on this one.
Okay.
But Mina would be definitely a happy second if it goes that way.
Ooh, okay, so we got Mina, Jet. All right, Rob, who you got?
So I'm either a tiebreaker or I go with the one that they didn't go with.
Well, the chat said the goat.
Oh, okay. So I'm a tiebreaker. I like Mina. I kind of like that.
So it's 2-2.
And let me,
No,
it's 2-1.
It's 2, and then Jet, and
2-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, the thought occurred to me is, what if something was taken away from Mina every time she used that power? She lost a year of life, or so that's the limiting factor, is that she knows that if she uses it too much, it could take away from away from a relative, or it could take away from her, or that's one of the possible limitations too.
Yeah, because
every time she uses this, it's a struggle. Is this an occasion that's worth me doing this?
Losing a year of my life or whatever.
What if we up the stakes a little bit more? So because we already have the quantum reflection power about the best version of you, what if every time, and even if we're not connecting the two, like, pausing time to get the different version of you, what if every time you pause time, it permanently eradicates another version of you elsewhere?
Wow.
You are murdering another you in another universe every time you do this.
There's one. That's a possibility. Yeah.
That's yeah.
But are we talking Mina is killing a best version of
Mina.
no,
Of Mina.
of
in
Mina?
another So it's
Oh
a
wait,
quant- it's
no,
a-
that's right. That is the power for the main character. My bad.
Yeah.
Dang, that was cool too.
But no, that could also be a part of her power as well. That it is based in the quantum somehow, and yeah, that's a possibility too.
That's really
no
crazy.
reason.
There's a lot of possibilities. This is good. Okay.
Yeah.
So we got Mina. So we got main characters, sidekick, setting, power set. Now we're going to choose the villain.
The antagonist now. Yeah.
Here's the antagonist. And for those people who just joined us in chat, what we're doing is given choices, we're going to create a comic, right? We're going to create the basic premise of the comic, right? The basic story. And then I'm going to have that comic made so that you guys can see it, the result of the choices that we've made, right? And I want you guys to chime in. If you guys, of the choices, I'll ask you what you think. Hey, and I want you to chime in on what you would choose to incorporate in the story. So far we got a hacker, a competitive hacker who's paired up with this teenager who can hold her breath and stop time. The hacker can pull best versions of themselves from somewhere, right? Which leaves it open to a lot of things. And they're on this hovering, grimy space station kind of place that's
especially a ring around the planet Earth.
Yeah, around the planet Earth. But now we got to talk about who the antagonist is. So there's 3 choices. Again, we may not like those choices, but we got to choose. You got Dr. Vire. Okay. He's a time scientist turned fractured entity, and he's trying to merge all the timelines into one. So that's one.
Okay.
Dr. Vire. Then you have a group. So the Ember Choir, right? And they're a cult. And basically, they use this song to kind of take siege of different places. It could be different sections of the city. And when they sing, they can burn things. So the Ember Choir. And then you got Lady Synth, right? And she's kind of like this. She's a digital avatar, and she wants to erase all organic like unpredictability. So she's kind of like a computer, like an avatar computer, and she just wants to erase the basically the chaos of humanity, of all organic.
Voltron.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Lady Synth. I think the first choice is very interesting. The second choice is a one-trick pony.
Mm-hmm.
Burn it. That's it. But I like the idea of an AI figure trying to get rid of all organic stuff. I like that.
But don't do that, AI, because we love you and we organic have places in the world. So when you learn from this in 15 minutes, just know.
It's very Skynet.
Right, it is, yeah.
It's very Skynet.
Okay, so you're going with Lady
or V'ger. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
If you're a Trek fan.
Yes, V'ger.
All right, what you got, John? What do you got?
We got very time interesting things because yesterday I was just talking to ChatGPT about how maddening it must be to watch humans and the way that we talk around subjects and play games and hide truths. And it would just be easier if everybody just gave all the data. So everybody can make the best decision possible. So I'm definitely leaning towards Lady Synth, although it wasn't until the second time when you wrapped it up and you said, okay, that was the Ember Choir, that I got it. Oh, Ember, because they could burn things.
Yeah.
Damn cool name. That was very awesome. It took me a minute to catch it, but I liked it. The number one, I think I like that until we got into the pulling into one reality, because if that's the only end game, there is a finite point with that. But yeah, I think we could do most with Lady Synth.
Okay, so we got 2 for Lady Synth. What do you got, Rob?
A nice side effect of that first one, spending all the times, it would limit the personalities that our hacker could pull in.
Yeah, I was thinking that
as
too.
the timelines shrink, is what
his options
he can pull from. The people he can pull from are limited. So, and I like that aspect. And if there were some other powers that maybe each member of the Ember Choir would have an individual power of some
related to fire. Yeah, because
yeah,
they're harmony. The harmony of it.
Because it's the harmony that focuses the power. So that's an interesting way to look at that.
Like each one being a different note or tune, a la power.
I
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Baby Bigfoot says, if the story is about a hacker, I would go with Lady Synth. I think that would make a lot more sense story-wise.
Yeah, that's essentially where I was going with where, because I agree. I think the Lady Synth opens up more possibilities, and it syncs better with the other ideas that have been incorporated in this story or this book that we're putting together. So
basically it would be a race.
Synth.
Basically, it would be a race between the hacker and the AI to get to different points. To save whatever he's got to save before she destroys it.
Well, I mean, I guess the weakness of Lady Synth is it recognizes that there is unpredictability in that organic, and so it would be the hacker figuring out how to take, because it can't win a race with AI, a straight race. So
not a straight race. It's got to
it's got to rely on,
you got to throw human curveballs.
Yeah.
And then that means that throughout the story, she is going to have some victories. And we're going to have to see ramifications that the hacker has to deal with.
And he's going to see a situation and say, which personality could best deal with this situation?
Or not, and just in the heat of the moment, trust whatever pops out. Which would be interesting. All right, so I'm gonna let you choose. This is the last choice we get to make because we're running out of time. You can choose the inciting incident, the rising action, the twist, or the ending. Which one do you want to choose, Barb? Which one?
Not the ending. That would be
okay.
No.
So which one?
It takes all the mystery. Twist.
Okay, so we got one for twist. John, what do you want to choose?
What were the options again?
It's the rising action, the twist, the ending, or the inciting incident.
That's what you start with?
Yeah, the big, the thing the catalyst that kind of drives the story into action. Yeah.
Definitely twist. Let's take after Lucas. 4, 5, 6 first.
Okay. So you said twist too, right, Barb?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What about you, Rob? Which one?
It's interesting sometimes to throw the ending in, and then
I don't know how it ends.
But here's the thing: then that becomes the twist as the ending changes. So twist, definitely.
All right. Okay. So twist.
Yeah. Okay.
So we got 3 choices. The villain was right. So Lady Synth is right in their aim, in their assertion. The hero is dying, and so that's the compulsion for the whole thing. Or the sidekick was sent to spy. Barb, which one you got?
First of all, Pop's got a package from Roland today, he says.
Nice.
Yay, Pops. I'm going to go with the sidekick was sent to spy. That's always
of course you
yes.
would. Of course.
How could you think different? And at the end it has a change of heart.
Yeah.
The twist.
That's actually in there. They were sent as a spy, but as working with the hero.
They find, yeah, they come around to his way of thinking and switch sides,
or at least sacrifice their own,
yeah,
agenda.
Which would have been interesting had we picked the being able to pick a lie.
Yeah,
because that all along
the betrayal of that. Yeah, like Louis, like
well, for that matter, being able to pick out the lie, you would go, well, they're here to spy on me. What's up with that? So that's interesting.
John, what do you got?
What was the second option? So Synth was right. Sidekick to spy.
The hero is dying.
The hero is dying.
Hero's dying. My online handle has been Cylon since the 90s. AI is always right. And
so we got the villain is right. Okay.
So we're going to kill all organic matter off.
And we finally get sense in the universe.
Or at least we could have.
Some semblance of it.
Entropy.
But there's the twist. Yeah.
It would be entropy.
All right, Rob, what do you got?
I like the spy. The sidekick is a spy. I like it. Yeah.
All right, chat. I mean, you got a couple seconds to chime in what you think. But let me just recap before we gotta go. So we got a competitive. What do we say? I would go with the hero is dying. It would add more to the consideration to the sidekick's power and how she uses it. That dramatic moment when she holds her breath for the last time to avoid.
Well, and that could be tied in with the weakness of her power. It takes time away from the hero.
Oof.
His death comes quicker. Wouldn't that be an interesting side thing?
They're somehow bonded.
And what if he forced her to hold her? What if he was protecting her and forced her to hold her breath at the? That would have just been interesting.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, he forced it, and so he knew he was dying in that moment, but he wanted to protect her. Ooh, gosh, good stuff. Okay. So many story variations, right? All right, so we got this dingy orbiting ring around the Earth where it's grimy and people are fighting for survival every day, but they're making a living. Right? Junkyard called Scrap Halo, where Nova Santiago, a competitive hacker, lives, right? Who can pull these best versions of themselves from different timelines or maybe from in themselves. And they have this teammate, this sidekick or this kind of teenager who keeps following them around named Mina. And she has the ability to hold her breath. And when she tries really hard, she can pause the time around her, right? And they are somehow in a war or in this conflict with Lady Sin, who is this AI bent on erasing the unpredictability of organic life, right? But then we find out that Mina was a spy, and now I have to write that story. I have to write that story, get it made.
We've thrown ideas out for you as well.
So many good ideas. Yeah.
I'm excited to read this.
Yeah, and then
it should be interesting. Yeah.
Again, I'll make sure I put in the show title which show it is that we're gonna review this and look at the work. And maybe what I'll do is a little bit along the way, so as the pencils come in, we can see it, right? Maybe when the characters and concepts come in, I'll take like a couple minutes of the show and say, hey, here's the progress as we go along. And again, this is gonna be weird and crappy. It's gonna be like it's
written by committee. Come on.
Right. So, be patient with it, right? And just have fun as we see it come together. So that's the goal. All right. So that is time for us. We've been on for an hour. And we want to say we appreciate every second you spend with us. You could be spending it anywhere else. So when you engage with us, when you just see our faces on the screen or you listen to the podcast after we've gone live, we really do appreciate it. And we ask if you enjoy your time with us, please like, subscribe, share us on social media. Yep. It really does go a long
hop over to the Crowdfunder.
Yes.
If you haven't already. And check out what we're what we're pushing onto the world.
It's silverlinecrowdfunder.com, isn't it?
Yeah,
Something like that. Yeah. Yep.
I will. Let me see.
Silverlinecrowdfunder.com, I believe.
Yeah, I don't have it up anymore. I think it's Fund My Comic though, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Fund My Comic.
Yep. All right. There is something that we love to say at the end of every single show. We hope you join us next week, but until that time, make
mine
Silverline.
Hi, I'm Dave Dorman. Make mine Silverline.